Hello everyone. Today we are going to study a significant topic of geography, that is human geography. So human geography is the branch of geography that deals with humans and their communities, culture, economies, interactions with the environment and their interrelations across different kinds of locations of the earth. So what does human geography study? The number one point is that it studies the interrelationship between the physical and sociocultural environment of human being and its surrounding ecosystem. So while talking about human geography, we need to understand three philosophical schools of geography. The first one is environmental determinism. Environmental determinism is the study of how the physical environment influenced the societies or the states towards a particular development. So environmental determinism is the explanation or the principle which states that human activity, culture, physical and mental characteristics are informed or inhabited by the geographical and climatic conditions of the physical environment. So in case of environmental determinism, environment becomes an active agent while influencing the settlement, the livelihoods, the way of life of a human being. The second important school of geography is possibilism. So possibilism is the way of understanding human being and environment where the environment sets certain constraints or limitations. So geographical possibilism is a school of thought that says that although the natural environment places certain constraints or limitations on human being, the culture of a particular human group is determined independently of nature by human social conditions. So in case of geographical possibilism, there is a kind of approach where we need to understand a long legacy of geographical determinism in geographical thought, which held that natural environment places an all-encompassing influence on human activity, and how it become changed by the interventions of the idea of possibilism, where human being becomes an active agent rather than the environment. So the next approach is stop and go determinism, which is developed by Australian geographer Griffith Taylor, where he said that a human can change the environment through various innovations and activities, but there is a limit. There is a limit to change by a human. The environment compels them to stop. So that's why it is termed as stop and go determinism. For example, the issue of climate change. Human beings or human societies in different countries are polluting the environment by wrong practices to achieve high growth in a cheap way. So there is a limit to growth, there is a limit to development. Through climate change, nature compels humans to correct its action against the environment. So basically, stop and go determinism talks about the limit where human being should stop to intervene the environment. So there are some kind of definitions on human geography where it was described by different geographers. For example, in the first definition, Rajal talks about human geography as a synthetic study of the relationship between humanistic society and the earth's surface. So it talks about the synthetic study and the relationship. In the second definition, Sample talks about the changing dimension of that relationship between the unrestricted man and unstable art. So, sample concentrating on how the relationship is changing through different time frame, through different spaces. In the third definition, Black pointed towards the physical laws that govern our art system and the relationship between the living beings which inhabit it. So Black not only talks about human being but also the entire ecosystem where different kinds of living beings inhabit and influenced by the environment. So these are the three important definitions on human geography. If we try to observe the development of human geography in different colonial period or different periods of time, we have found the first one is that the exploration and description, where the discovery of different areas or regions of the world have been developed through imperial trade. The colonial period. So the colonial period is important regarding the description of a particular region where the idea of region is actually developed. During 1930s, the interwar period, we have found how the idea of region has been developed to the idea of areal differentiation based on a characteristic. That means areal differentiation talks about how an area or a region becomes unique in comparison to another region. So there is a kind of way of studying different kinds of regions or areas based on different uniqueness during this period of. So in the late 1950s to the late 1960s, we have found the spatial organization of quantitative revolution. So what is quantitative revolution? In the 1950s and 1960s, a revolutionary change has been developed, which is known as quantitative revolution in the discipline of geography. So it replaced the ideographic approach based on areal differentiation by nomothetic one, which had talks about the spatial structures or phenomena. So quantitative revolution laid the basis of geography as a spatial science, that deals with the spatial analysis of phenomena which exist on the earth's surface. So in a simpler words, quantitative revolution gave geography a scientific vision through the application of methodology rooted in statistical methods. Some of the elements of positivism also influence in quantitative revolution. So traditionally, geography was a discipline that studied and described the surface of the earth, but in due course of time, it also gave the accurate, systematic, and rational description and explanations of the variation in different geographical phenomena. In the late 1970s, there was an emergence of humanistic, radical, and behavioral schools based on different socio-political reality. So humanistic approach talks about the behavioral change of human being and how a radical change influence to understanding in terms of understanding the social changes, social problems, etc. So these three schools actually interconnected with each other regarding the social and political reality of a society. During 1900, the postmodernism in geography has been developed. So postmodernism is a kind of movement in humanities, in philosophy, in social sciences. It developed in reaction to modern geographic thought. So In postmodernism, we have found different kinds of social theory that actually submerges and marginalize the geographical or spatial imagination. So in this period, the most important geographer is Edward Souza, who talks about different kinds of spaces. For example, the first space, the second space, the third space, which can be interconnected in terms of applicability of universal theories to explain human society. So there are different kinds of subfields of human geography. In this photograph, you have found that there are different subfields of human geography which are interconnected or which are interdisciplinary in different disciplines of social sciences and also natural sciences. For example, when we have studied the human environmental relations, we have to connect with environmental studies. When we have studied the population of a particular area, we have to know about the demography also. For example, when we try to study social geography, there's a connections between sociology also. So there are different subfields which are interconnected with different independent disciplines of both natural sciences and social sciences. Thank you.